in the entire world. Thought, what a great beginning now for, a remodeling of the monarchy, to have, this prince and his wife, a divorcee, and an American, a woman of mixed race.
They really hate each other now, and they cannot.
We'll see you upstairs. Hey, Harry.
You know when a love story looks picture perfect from the outside, but once you get close you realize something darker is hiding behind the sparkle? That's exactly what happened with Prince Harry. People thought he finally found freedom, found love, found someone who understood him. But if you look closely, really closely, what he walked into wasn't freedom. It was a cage wearing a smile. And brick by brick, Meghan Markle built it, decorating every corner with charm, ambition, and a level of strategy nobody saw coming. You thought it was love. You thought it was freedom. But for Prince Harry, it was a cage disguised as devotion. And Meghan Markle built it brick by brick. Everyone remembers the old Harry, the cheeky rebel, the fun-loving prince who made headlines for breaking rules with a grin that made the monarchy look almost human. That guy is gone now, completely gone. And no, it's not because he escaped royal life, it's because he stepped into something far more controlling, far more subtle, and far more emotionally draining than anything the palace could have ever done to him.
You get here, mate. But on stage, when they knew everyone was filming on their mobile phones and taking pictures, it got even worse.
Let's be honest, this isn't the same Prince Harry we grew up with. You can see it in his eyes, that sparkle, that signature mischievous glint, wiped out. He looks older, tired, almost as if he's trying so hard to say the right thing that he's forgotten how to just be. And people pretend it's independence. Please, if this is independence, why does it look like heartbreak? When Meghan stepped into the royal scene, everyone screamed, fairy tale. Hollywood meets royalty. Feminist icon becomes princess. Cameras clicked, headlines exploded, and everyone fell for the glowing romance.
And I was beautifully surprised when I walked into that room and saw her, and there she was sitting there. I was like...
When Meghan Markle entered the royal scene, but behind those perfect photos and glowing statements was something else. Something calculated. Because Meghan didn't just wander into Harry's life. She had already been circling the royal orbit. The Soho House crowd, the PR friends, the connections that magically aligned. Call it destiny if you want. Insiders call it strategy.
Since then, as our network grew, we've seen the full scope of what we're facing. We've witnessed the explosion of unregulated artificial intelligence.
People close to her even joked that she had a vision board with Prince Harry's face on it, and honestly, it doesn't even sound like a joke anymore, because everything, every step, every word, every appearance looked rehearsed, perfected, and aimed exactly where she wanted to land.
I had to sit down and make sure I got a good chat.
I think for both of us, though, it was really refreshing because given that I didn't know a lot about him, everything that I've learned.
And when she finally met him, she played it flawlessly. Harry never stood a chance, and not because he's weak, because he's emotional. He's vulnerable. He still lives in the shadow of Diana, still aches from what happened to his mother, still longs for someone to understand him. And Meghan saw that. She didn't just see it, she studied it. She learned what made him feel safe, what made him feel misunderstood, and she slipped right into that emotional gap as if she'd been preparing for it. She didn't just love him, she studied him. She whispered all the lines he desperately needed to hear. They'll never let you be free, Harry, but I will. And God, did he fall for it. But the freedom she offered was nothing like the freedom he imagined. It wasn't freedom from the palace, it was freedom from everyone except her. From the outside, it looked like liberation. It's almost tragic. What looked like escape was just relocation. The palace controlled him with protocol. Meghan controlled him with emotions. Softer, quieter, but far more powerful. That's the twist in their fairy tale. Because let's be very real. One of them became the director, and one became the lead actor without knowing he was acting. Then comes the scariest part. The part that breaks people without raising a single red flag. Emotional manipulation doesn't start loud. It starts gentle, sweet, loving, like a warm hand guiding you slowly, away from everyone else. She didn't tell him to cut people off. No, she suggested. They don't understand you, Harry. They don't want you to be happy. A sentence here, a hint there, and suddenly his circle began to shrink. His old army friends, distance, Invictus teammates, silence, the charities he built, cold communication, and then the most heartbreaking one, William, a bond that survived everything. Gone. Harry and William used to laugh together, fight together, stand together through scandals and grief. But Meghan's influence created a subtle corrosive gap between them. One brother giving a concerned warning, the other brother running home saying, "She told me you're jealous." What started as a simple conversation became twisted into betrayal, all while Harry believed he was protecting her. And that's how she controlled the narrative, turning every royal tradition into oppression, every family gesture into hostility, every piece of advice into an attack. And this is where everything really began to unravel for Harry. Not in some explosive argument, not in some scandal, but in those tiny, invisible shifts that change a person without them realizing. Because one by one, the people who knew the real Harry, the soldier, the brother, the joker, the friend, they all started fading from his life like they'd been quietly erased from the script. And the saddest part, he didn't even notice it happening. He thought he was choosing peace. He thought he was choosing love. But what he was choosing was isolation dressed up as protection. She had him right where she needed him, emotionally dependent, convinced that the world didn't understand him, and absolutely sure that only she could save him from the people who loved him most. That's not love. That's control served in a golden cup. And that's exactly how emotional capture works. You don't feel trapped. You feel chosen. You feel defended. You feel like the world is the villain, and the person isolating you is somehow your guardian angel. Harry kept calling it independence from the royals. But independence doesn't mean disappearing from every person who ever cared for you. Independence doesn't mean becoming unreachable. Independence doesn't mean needing permission to breathe. His entire reality became filtered through Meghan. Every decision, every opinion, every conversation, every narrative about who was good and who was evil. And by the time people realized what was happening, he was already living in a bubble she had carefully built around him. A bubble where she was always right and everyone else was always wrong. Harry didn't marry a partner. He married a world, her world. And when your world belongs to someone else, you do too. The heartbreaking collapse of Harry and William's bond didn't happen because of one big argument. It happened through erosion. Slow, subtle, silent. Something that should have taken decades happened in months once Meghan entered the picture. William tried to be the concerned brother. He tried to tell Harry to take his time, but Meghan twisted that into jealousy, into judgment, into an attack on her character, and Harry bought it. A single conversation became a battlefield. William became the enemy, and suddenly, the once unbreakable brotherhood was frozen over. It wasn't Harry and William anymore. It was Harry and Meghan versus everyone. Even Diana's memory wasn't enough to pull them back together. Harry started seeing every royal tradition as suffocating, every family gesture as hostile, every bit of advice as manipulation. Because that's how she played it. The outsider who needed rescuing, the misunderstood woman, the victim of royal coldness. And Harry, always emotionally vulnerable, always eager to protect the people he cares about, became the perfect soldier for her storyline. The tragedy is almost cinematic. The man who once joked with William in front of cameras now barely looks him in the eye. The warmth was replaced with frost, a frost that started the moment Meghan whispered, "He doesn't want you to be happy." And from there, the fall was rapid. Harry became quieter, more unsure, more careful with his words. Watch any interview now. He doesn't speak freely. He waits. He glances. He searches her face before he finishes a sentence, afraid of saying anything she hasn't approved. That's not partnership. That's permission. Psychologists call it identity erosion, the loss of a person's inner voice because someone else has slowly taken control of the volume knob. Harry wasn't just influenced. He was rewritten. He became Meghan's version of Harry. Polished, politically correct, predictable, drained. A man running on emotional exhaustion while the world claps for a power couple. And the world keeps praising her as strong, as visionary, as bold. But strong women don't dim their partner's light. Strong women don't clip their partner's wings. Strong women don't isolate a man until he forgets who he used to be. Watch their interviews closely. It's subtle but chilling. Every time he tries to open up, she interrupts. Not to add to his point, but to redirect it, to shape it, to control his message before it slips into something honest. His eyes flicker, his shoulders tighten, he adjusts instantly. That is learned compliance, and the public calls it teamwork. He doesn't look free, he looks supervised. She controls the pacing, the answers, the narrative, even the emotional tone. She doesn't need to shout. She just tilts her head slightly or tightens her lips, and Harry corrects himself like a student terrified of failing an exam. That's not love, that's conditioning. Meghan doesn't need to dominate loudly. She dominates silently. Her control is in the tiny details. Who sits where, who talks first, how long Harry can speak before she takes over. And every time she does, the world applauds like it's empowerment. But those who understand emotional manipulation know exactly what they're watching. Behind closed doors, it's worse. Sources say peace only comes when Harry agrees. The moment he pushes back, the air changes. Not yelling, not anger, not yelling. Something far more chilling. Coldness, withdrawal, silence, the kind that makes a person fold instantly. He seeks harmony by sacrificing himself. And the longer he stays, the more the world forgets who he used to be. The soldier who carried Diana's legacy, vanished. The brother who shared a lifetime of grief with William, gone. The cheeky rebel who made the monarchy look fun, erased. Now he speaks in carefully rehearsed sound bites, like a spokesperson for someone else's truth. His eyes don't sparkle with mischief. They look tired, heavy, searching for approval he once never needed. And while the world claps for their love story, the real story is far more tragic. Harry thinks he found freedom. But freedom shouldn't feel this exhausting. Freedom shouldn't feel like losing your identity. Freedom shouldn't feel like permission seeking. He didn't escape control. He walked right into a new version of it, a softer, sweeter, deadlier version. And piece by piece, the prince the world adored has been fading ever since. And the deeper you look, the more heartbreaking it becomes, because Harry doesn't even realize what's happening to him. That's the most tragic part. He genuinely believes this is love. He believes this silence, this distance from his own blood, this constant pressure to protect Meghan is somehow proof of loyalty. But real loyalty doesn't require losing yourself. Real love doesn't demand that you erase the people who made you who you are. But that's exactly what happened. His entire emotional compass was replaced. If Meghan approved, it was right. If she didn't, it was wrong. And over time, Harry stopped trusting his own instincts. He second-guesses everything now. You can see it every time he speaks in public. That little pause, that tiny flick toward her face, checking, waiting, adjusting. It's subtle, but it's devastating once you notice it. He once spoke freely, laughed loudly, joked without thinking. Now he looks like a man terrified of saying the wrong thing, as if every word he utters has to pass an invisible checklist. Does it match her version? Does it align with her image? Will it upset her narrative? And this is how someone disappears without ever going missing. The prince who once ran across African fields barefoot, who hugged children without cameras, who danced with locals under the stars. That prince feels like a distant memory. Today, he stands in tailored suits, reciting lines that sound like they were crafted in a PR meeting. Even the raw emotion he once showed so effortlessly feels packaged, polished, almost manufactured. And yet, beneath all this control, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the carefully staged smiles, there are moments, tiny flashes, where the old Harry peeks through. A spontaneous laugh, a slip of honesty, a spark in his eyes that reminds the world he's still in there somewhere. Buried, fading, but not completely gone. Those moments are rare, but they're powerful. They're the reminder that this isn't just a royal drama. It's a man fighting a silent war inside himself, torn between who he was, who he's become, and who he might never get to be again.